Hi, welcome back to the channel. So glad you could be here. Today I'm reading camping stories from Reddit. Let's get into it. Before I get started, check out my new microphone. I'm very excited to have this. I hope it sounds good. If you have any feedback for me as far as like lighting, how the mic sounds, please let me know in the comments. Thanks. Am I the asshole for not packing my husband's clothes for camping? So it was my vacation last week, and we decided to go camping. Beforehand, I packed everything: food, tents, camp stove, dishes, etc. I then packed my child and my clothing and told my husband that I don't know what he wants to bring for clothes, and he said he'd pack it himself. Great. So fast forward to the day of, we packed the car, got in, and before we left, I asked, "Do we have everything?" And he said yes. So I drove off for 2 hours. We get to the site and unpack. Husband then decided he wanted to go for a swim and went looking for his trunks. He then asked if I packed them. I said, "No. You were supposed to pack your clothes. You said you would." Husband said, "I put everything on the bed. I thought you'd pack them from there." So great. He has no clothes, and he called me an asshole for expecting him to pack them. He called you the asshole? What is he, 5? I packed everything else, including our 20-month-old child. He had one job. That's it. Edit. Some details that I guess I should have mentioned. 1. He has epilepsy and therefore can't drive. 2. I set up the tent and the fire. 3. This was his first time camping. 4. I work full-time. He works part-time. 5. We didn't end up going home early as there was a thrift store and a laundromat nearby. 6. I hope he learned from his mistake, because we're going camping again on Wednesday. 7. He's still calling me an asshole for this. 8. This is our first major disagreement in 7 years of being together. He's not normally this petty. 9. We use different suitcases as I share mine with our child. 10. I've been camping since childhood. You would think he would have been more eager to pack his stuff since it's his first time camping. You're definitely not the asshole. He needs to grow up a little bit, maybe man up a little bit. You made the fire and put up the tent? Girl. Am I the asshole for ruining my group camping trip? Okay, so to cut right to it, I was going on a school hiking trip in a group of 5 with me, female, 17, and my boyfriend and 3 other dudes. 2 of these dudes were like those gym lad guys, but toxic. Not directly rude, but no filter, and mean at times. And as a larger girl, with not a lot of stamina, I definitely affected the group's speed. Mind you, I have 1 bottle of water, a 40-kilogram bag, and it's at least a 5-hour hike. And the entire time, the 3 other dudes would go at their own pace, which was much faster than me or my partners, and we would do our best to keep up. But would struggle a lot since we were not as fit and active as the others. I asked them if it would be okay for them to go a bit slower so we could all stay together so we don't get lost and also get breaks. But all they would say is that if we just go through the hike, we can just rest at the end in the campsite. I proceeded to tell them unfortunately we weren't able to do that, especially in these conditions, and would need at least a 1-minute break every 40 minutes or so. But they would just ignore us and say that it would be better just to do it at once, even when I said it wasn't possible for us. So I tried to go to the teacher at the next checkpoint and ask if I and my partner could split up with them, as what would happen is they would rush up ahead to the checkpoint, rest till we got there, then say keep going, leaving us not being able to take more than 20-second break. And the teacher basically said, "Yeah, no, I'll tell them to go at your pace, but as a team, you guys need to work it out. Also, this doesn't include how they told us they would fill our water bottles throughout and not to bring too much water. But when it actually started, they barely gave us a few sips of water at each checkpoint. So we were dehydrated and exhausted throughout. It got to the point where I was tired. I bumped my head into a tree and had a headache, while later throwing up and also falling over and hurting my already blistered feet. At that point, I was so sick of the lack of help from teachers and the team that didn't give a damn about actual teamwork, and all that pain just got me so when we got to the campsite, I just told them we would not continue. They basically told us, no, just wait till tomorrow and see how you feel. My partner got no sleep at all, and my body was aching. The next day, I reminded my teacher we would not continue. They told us if we don't continue, no one else could. I remained firm, telling them I wouldn't be continuing. They all told us we were being selfish and ruining the trip for everyone. I broke down crying and apologizing, but the lack of support and everything tied together just was something I would not continue. They continued telling us how it was all in our head and we could ignore the pain, but when they realized there was no use, they ignored us the entire ride home, and they have all been cold since. Am I the asshole? Definitely not the asshole. Your teachers should have been making sure that everybody stayed together as a group and that they actually slowed down. And at 17, I don't know, I feel like you should be responsible for your own water and not rely on other people to bring your water. But it doesn't sound like you're used to hiking, so you probably weren't aware of that. Am I the asshole for leaving my friends on a camping trip? So I love going tubing, and some friends wanted to join me and have a camping trip as well. I'm usually an easygoing person, and a friend of mine kind of took the lead on planning the activities. 3 people traveled in my van, and 1 person drove themselves. We get there Friday, tube Saturday, leave Sunday. I told my friend to rent herself a sturdy tube. Instead, they chose a cheap pool toy to float the river. It sank halfway down the river. Yikes. I told my friend we should rent an extra tube for the ice chest and dry stuff. The pool toy they brought to hold the ice chest would not make it. I barely saved the bags from the rocks. My phone was destroyed, as the bag was water resistant, but not waterproof. Yeah, I was a little dumb to bring it on the river. That is my fault. I told the group not to keep the tubes tied together. My friend insisted to tie everyone together, and we nearly got hurt when we crashed the first 2 times before I convinced them to untie the tubes. Yeah, you should not have your tubes tied together. I was burned, tired, my phone was dead, we were out of food, ice, basically everything. It was 100 degrees outside and 8 p.m. It was time to go home. I was ready. My friend agreed at first, but defended the other 2 because they were drunk and wanted to party. The other 2 people didn't want to leave, and my friend said I was selfish for wanting to go home. All weekend I shut my mouth to this nonsense instead of taking control of the situation. I should have simply floated by myself. I should have had my own shit under control, and I was the driver, and I should say when it's time to leave. One person suggested I should go sleep off my attitude in the car. Another says I'm selfish. They wouldn't be able to load all their stuff in the other car. I tell them simply load all that stuff they don't need tonight in my car and I'll drop it off when they get home. I was leaving. They refused to do it. I told them again, I'm leaving. It's time to go. Get last chance to load up. They refused. I left them. It was a 5-hour drive back home. Whoa. No one has spoken to me since, except my friend telling me that I need to drive to their house and drop off whatever was in my car, some sodas, a couple towels, a pair of shoes, I think a flashlight. I told them no, I offered to do that, and more than that, and they refused. Pick it up yourself. Next time I'm going tubing by myself. Am I the asshole? Edit. Apparently the people I went camping with borrowed all the camping gear from someone and they abandoned it at the campsite and said I stole it instead of leaving or letting me load up a bunch of stuff that they weren't using. Hi, if you're reading this, go fuck yourself. I like that. You're definitely not the asshole. I can see how you got frustrated and why you would want to leave, and you did give them the opportunity to load stuff up in the car. Would I be the asshole for not inviting my friend camping because they don't discipline their kid? So I'm in a bit of a pickle. Sorry if this is long. I have a sister, Ashley, and her husband, Chad. They have 2 kids. Their oldest is 6, and he's high-functioning autistic. They're not very good at disciplining him. He hits, cusses, threatens, etc. For example, we had a Halloween party, and the kid wasn't having it. because he was losing and threatened to stab someone. When he was called out, Ashley didn't like it and told us not to call out her kid. Every single time we hang out with them, it's always something with the 6-year-old. On to the current issue. Last summer, a group of my friends went camping up the mountains. We had a really good time. My sister asked if she could come, but I don't want to invite her because everyone in the group, it's just kind of all agreed that we don't want to be around her kid because he's not disciplined and it's just really frustrating to watch. Some new friends will be joining us this year, and I don't know how they'll react if the 6-year-old does something to their kids. How do I respectfully and nicely tell my sister that no one wants to be around my nephew? Because he is not disciplined, but we love them very much and would want them to come. I'm going to say not the a-hole. You can try talking to your sister. She's probably going to take it to heart, and it probably will impact your relationship. But, I mean, honesty is the best policy, so that's a tricky one. It's a tricky one. Am I the a-hole for asking my ex if our son, 11, could bring his stepbrother, also 11, on their father-son camping trip? My ex and I got divorced when our son was 6. When he was 8, I started dating my current husband. On the day my son met his stepbrother, they stood in front of each other, sized each other up the way little boys do, and were silent for a moment. Then my son asked, "Do you want to play Smash Bros?" And his stepbrother said yes, and then ran upstairs. It was fraternal love at first sight. They've been attached at the hip ever since. Aw, that's sweet. My stepson's mother passed a few years ago. Aw. And my husband was actually reluctant to introduce me and my son to his 2 kids because he thought it was too soon. It turns out that where some kids get a pet after a parent dies, my stepson and stepdaughter got a brother. The first year we were all together, my stepson asked if my son could come along when they visited their mother at the cemetery on her birthday, and he spent the whole car ride over telling my son all about her, and it seemed therapeutic for him. Later that night, I checked in and saw that my son had climbed up the top bunk and they'd fallen asleep curled up together. Before she entered her current 7 going on 17 phase, my stepdaughter used to crawl into my son's lap as often as she could and ask him to read to her. Since the divorce, my ex-husband has been unreliable at best. He cancels on my son regularly, making some excuse about work or what have you. The twice-monthly weekend together have trailed off to 4 times a year. Every time I have to tell my son his father canceled, my stepson goes to his father and asks if the 3 of them can do something together. One of the few things my ex-husband likes enough to always follow through with is camping. He's planning on taking my son to the Poconos in a few weeks, the weekend after Father's Day weekend. My son loves camping as well, and he's the one who convinced my stepson to join the Boy Scouts next fall. The thing is, this year he wants to bring his stepbrother along. I told my ex-husband this and he got really upset, saying that it's their time together and he doesn't want someone else's kid along with them. He says that it's supposed to be the 2 of them bonding. I told him he's had plenty of chances to bond, that he blew off for one reason or another, and that he should consider himself lucky that he has such a compassionate and sensitive son, and that our son still wants anything to do with him. He hung up in a huff. His mother called yesterday to complain that I was expecting my ex just to sit there while my son and stepson went off on their own and ignored my ex completely, and said that I need to look at it from his perspective, since he only gets to see our son a few times a year. For obvious reasons, this annoyed me to the point where I hung up. My husband says that he gets it and thinks I should just let it be the 2 of them. Am I the asshole? So you're not the asshole for asking. Sounds like your son and your stepson are really bonded, and that's awesome. But your ex saying no, that's okay. That's his right. That's his time with his son. It sounds like he's not the best dad. You're just going to have to accept it. Am I the a-hole for turning back to go home when we were 15 minutes away from camping with my fiance's mother? My mother-in-law usually plans a camping weekend before or after my fiance's birthday every year. Mother-in-law invites her friends and tells my fiance he can invite whoever he wants. He usually has 1 to 2 friends come. This year, we had one friend say yes, and his brother who doesn't like camping, but tags along. The weekend before camping, mother-in-law calls to talk about how to split the food for camping. She tells us to buy ribs, chicken wings, sausages, vegetables, beer for everyone. Sounded like we were getting the more expensive things, but we said no problem. It's a lot of food. During the week, my fiance messages his mom to let her know that if she plans to get him a gift for his birthday, money is better. The reason for that is she tends to give random gifts. For context, we got tire covers for Xmas one year. She asked him for money for her birthday before. He's asked her too. No biggie here. She wrote back and said, "Camping is your gift." That upset me because mother-in-law is notorious for being inconsiderate and mistreating my fiance. She's the type of mother who believes her children should take care of her. I told him to ask her if she's paying us back for all the food that we got for the trip then. And she replies, it's their cultural tradition that the birthday person pays for their guests on their birthday. It's a weird tradition. First we hear of that. I'm upset, but my fiance says it's better to keep the peace and just go. I said I would support him no matter what. Friday arrives. By the time we packed and we're on the road, it's 6 p.m. with a 2.5-hour drive to the campsite. My mother-in-law was already at the campsite with limited cell service and didn't tell us how to get there. So we GPS the lake location and follow that. 15 minutes away, we're on a road that gets tighter and rocky. Hesitant to keep going, we get past a section that was risky. But my fiance's brother in the other car tries to pass the same section and gets stuck. The area ahead is flooded due to a storm with the tornado warning the day before. There's no way we can get our cars through there, and it's a 1-hour detour to get to the campsite. It's 9 p.m. Everyone's unhappy. We decide to turn back home. We would rather not set up our tents at 10 p.m. in the dark on a potentially very muddy area. Mother-in-law sends a message to ask where we are. My fiance tells her there was no road for us to get there, so we're going back home. Mother-in-law tells us to come in the morning, and fiance says no. Mother-in-law does not show any concern for us, and instead says that she's very disappointed. They didn't bring any veggies. They have too much meat and not enough beer. This definitely doesn't sound like a birthday celebration for my fiance, and we decided, us, his friend, and his brother, that we'd just rather just spend time together at home to celebrate his birthday where he's actually the highlight of the activity. Are we the assholes for turning back home and not going back in the morning? No, not the asshole. You definitely should have gotten directions to the campsite beforehand and maybe left a little earlier, but doesn't sound like a real birthday celebration celebrating him, does it? Sounds like mom's just planning on partying with her friends and needs an excuse to do it. Am I the a-hole for telling my dad that if his girlfriend's kid comes camping, I'm not going? So I'm a 17-year-old male. I graduate high school in May. Since I was a freshman, my dad and I have planned on going out west camping for 2 to 2.5 weeks in the summer after graduation. Go to Colorado, South Dakota, and Wyoming. Oh, that sounds like fun. Last summer we were discussing it, and my brother, Jed, 15 now, seemed interested. I guess he asked my dad if he could come, and my dad later asked me if that was cool, because otherwise he'd take Jed on a weekend local trip or something. I said it was fine, since I want to spend time with Jed too before I leave for college. So we've been planning away and picking campgrounds to stay, trails to hike, sights to see. We are all excited. Last July, August, my dad started dating Bonnie. She's nice and everything. She also has a 10-year-old son, Toby. Toby's all right for a kid. He behaves and everything, but I don't really do much with him because we're obviously not into the same things, and it feels like unpaid babysitting more than anything. Yesterday, Jed and I were by our dad's, and he said, "How would you guys feel if Toby came along on our camping trip? We could maybe hit some amusement parks, so he'd have fun too." Jed looked at me and I said, I wouldn't want him to. I mean, it's supposed to be just us. He doesn't even like that stuff. Dad said, "Well, Bonnie and I were talking, and we're starting to get more serious, and I think that it's important for you all to bond more." I said, I don't want some random little kid coming with a trip that we've been planning for years. My dad said, "He's 10. He's not a little kid, and he might be your stepbrother one day, so you should get to know him more." I said, "Fine, but if he's going camping, then I'm not." I left and went back to my mom's because my dad will keep bringing something up, discussing it until you just agree, and I didn't feel like dealing with it. When my dad brought Jed home, apparently he talked to our mom. My mom talked to me and said that Jed doesn't want to go either if I'm not going. My dad already put in for vacation time and made reservations, so maybe I should just go and it will be fun. I shouldn't back out of something I've been looking forward to just because of Toby. Am I the asshole for saying I won't go if Toby goes and planning to follow through? First of all, congratulations for graduating. That is amazing. And second of all, I don't think you're the a-hole. It sounds like you're putting your foot down, you have boundaries. You've really been looking forward to this trip with your dad. I'm sure Toby's great, but a younger person is going to slow you down, is going to take time out on the trail. I don't think you're the a-hole. Okay, that's all for today. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you have a lovely day. Bye. And instead says, oh my God, you typed like an idiot. Probably should have put on lipstick, but I did not.